You know what nobody wants to say? The Republican Party just ran a loyalty purge in broad daylight, and it worked.
Welcome to the Wes Calloway Show. I'm Reagan, he's Wes, and today we are neck deep in the 2026 primary season.
Massie gone, Cassidy gone, and now John Cornyn, four-term senator from Texas, gone. Trump's endorsement record sits at 118-0.
118-0. That number's hard to argue with. The question worth asking is what it costs in November.
Well, that's the part we're going to dig into, because winning a primary and winning a general are two different sports.
Right, and Brookings published a piece today asking exactly that, whether this is shrewd party building or a general election liability in the making.
Paxton beat Cornyn by 28 points, 2-8, the first Republican senator from Texas to lose his own primary since 1970.
And Cook Political shifted the Texas rating the same night results came in. That's not nothing.
We've also got the part where candidates Trump was actively beating were running pro-Trump ads anyway. That section of the show is going to be something.
Yeah, ad impact tracked roughly 70% of Republican primary ads pledging Trump loyalty, even the losing ones.
And then we close out with the November map. Democrats need 4 Senate seats. The House only needs 3 flips, and forecasters currently like their odds there.
So it's possible the loyalty purge wins the primary war and loses the chamber anyway. That's the scenario we walk through at the end.
That's exactly right. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, we love hearing from you. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover, head to the link in the description and submit your question. We read every single one. So here's what's going on with the 2026 primary season, and I need you to sit with this number for a second. According to Axios, Donald Trump has picked favorites in more primaries than any other president in history, more than any. And his endorsed candidates have won every single race where results are in, 100%.
That's a remarkable number, and Brookings put out a piece just this week noting that these primaries are the clearest early indicator of whether Trump still has his grip on the Republican Party. The short answer seems to be yes.
Yes, unambiguously yes. Axios reported he endorsed 95% of the 217-member House GOP conference, nearly 2/3 of Senate races. And the strategy, Reagan, is not random. He endorsed vulnerable incumbents early, froze out challengers before they could gain traction, and made the price of defiance very visible.
Now, here's where I'd pump the brakes a little bit. Is this a purge, or is it just smart incumbent protection? There's a difference.
Oh, I love this.
I'm serious. If you endorse the most likely to win anyway, your win rate looks extraordinary. The underlying question is whether these endorsements are actually moving voters or just following the field.
Both things can be true, Reagan. And here's the thing. The strategy Axios described is deliberate. The White House decided early on endorse vulnerable incumbents before challengers could organize, specifically to freeze the field. That's not incumbent protection. That's field management. There's a word for that.
Control.
Control. And the receipts are landing in real time. Cornyn, Cassidy, Massie. These are not fringe figures getting bounced. These are Senate lions and a 14-year House veteran.
And that's where I think the story gets genuinely significant. Brookings flagged that the pattern in both parties' primaries tells us something about 2028, not just 2026. The progressive left is watching what Trump does to dissenters and drawing their own conclusions about primary power.
Which is the larger thesis here. This is not just a scorecard. This is a structured loyalty sweep. Win in the primary, own the conference. Own the conference, own the agenda through November. It's layered.
I'd agree with the first 2 steps. The third is where November complicates things. Primary wins inside a safe field don't automatically translate.
And that is a real question worth carrying into the fall. But before we get to November, the names matter just as much as the numbers, because the numbers tell you the pattern. The specific names tell you how far he's willing to push it. And some of those names, they'll surprise you.
What kind of events are we talking about specifically?
That's exactly where we're going next. So the names. Let's get into the names because that's where the thesis either holds or it doesn't.
Walk me through them.
First up, Thomas Massie, 14 years in Congress, Kentucky's 4th, one of the most principled fiscal conservatives in the House by any honest accounting. May 19th, Trump-backed Ed Gallerin beats him. Done.
And here's the thing about Massie. He didn't vote to impeach. He didn't switch parties. He pushed to release the Epstein files. He opposed the big beautiful bill on deficit grounds. He voted against the Iran war. That's his offense.
Fiscal independence and asking inconvenient questions. Capital crimes in 2026.
I'll give him this. He went down swinging. Setting his concession speech, there's a yearning in this country for someone who will vote for principles over party.
Look, I respect Massie. He picked the wrong fights at the wrong time. The party has a direction. He ran in the other one. But that race, $32.6 million in ad spending, most expensive House primary on record. Pete Hegseth literally flew to Kentucky to campaign against a sitting congressman.
That detail still gets me. The defense secretary on the ground in a House primary.
Now, Cassidy, Louisiana, May 16th, one of 7 GOP senators who voted to convict Trump after January 6th. The result? Julia Letlow at 45%, John Fleming at 28%, and Cassidy at 25%, third in his own primary.
That's not a loss, that's an eviction.
I was going to say, they didn't beat him, they lapped him. But here's my honest read. Cassidy was always the most predictable casualty on this list. He voted to convict, he publicly opposed Trump in 2024, the Louisiana GOP censured him. You saw this coming 5 years ago.
That's fair. Still, he became the first elected incumbent senator to lose renomination since Richard Lugar in 2012.
Right, historic. And then we get to Texas.
Yeah.
And this one, Reagan, this one is different.
Nodding. John Cornyn.
John Cornyn, Senate Majority Whip, 24 years in the Senate, the guy who basically ran the chamber's institutional machinery, the person Mitch McConnell handed the keys to. According to reporting from Texas Tribune and NBC News, Ken Payton beat him 64-36 in the May 26th runoff.
64-36.
First Republican senator in Texas history to lose a primary, ever, in the history of the state.
And the race cost over $100 million, the most expensive Senate primary in history.
24 years of what they used to call establishment credibility, gone in a week because a late Trump endorsement of Ken Paxton flipped the math entirely.
Now, I do want to flag what this means downstream. Paxton faces Democrat James Tallarico in November. Texas isn't suddenly competitive, but national Democrats now see an opening they didn't have before, a more extreme nominee in a race that cost the party over $100 million in primary money.
So you're saying Trump's strength in the primary might be the party's liability in the fall?
I'm saying it's a real question. Brookings flagged exactly this tension back on May 12th. Primary dominance and general election risk aren't the same calculation.
And that tension shows up everywhere in this cycle. You know what's almost funny? Even the candidates Trump was actively trying to defeat were invoking his name in their own ads.
Oh, that's a whole thing.
Bill Cassidy's ads featured him working with Trump on tax cuts, while Trump was backing his replacement, the scorpion and the frog, except the frog put the scorpion in a campaign ad.
It gets more absurd from there, actually.
It really does, and that's where we're going. Now flip that on its head for a second, because here's what nobody talks about with the Cassidy story.
The ads?
The ads. NBC reported it. According to Ad Impact, 70% of TV ads in the Kentucky, Indiana, and Louisiana primaries mention Trump by name. 70%.
Including from candidates Trump was actively trying to beat.
Cassidy, the guy Trump posted needed to be voted out of office, ran an ad saying he worked with President Trump to pass tax cuts.
While Trump was funding ads to end his career.
Same week. So I've been thinking, we need an award for this. The most improved MAGA. Cassidy gets the gold. Running pro-Trump ads in a race where Trump is actively kidnapping you? That is Olympic-level performance.
Okay, look, I get the strategy. If you're down, you don't run away from the base. But there's something almost poetic about it.
Poetic? Reagan, it's a hostage video filmed by the hostage.
Okay, that's fair.
And Cassidy isn't alone. Indiana State Senator Linda Rogers ran ads bragging she worked on extending Trump's big, beautiful bill, while Trump's people were spending millions to take her out.
Right, so the performance of loyalty has become its own loyalty test, meaning even the act of pretending isn't enough.
You know what nobody wants to say? That's not a coalition anymore. That's a casting call.
Here's where I push back slightly. Some of this is rational behavior. These are deep red seats. If you're Cassidy and you voted for impeachment, running away from Trump doesn't save you. At least leaning in gives you a lane.
Sure, and it still didn't work. Third place. Finished third.
Which means even the performance wasn't enough to overcome the actual vote 5 years ago.
Bingo. So the question is, what does that tell you about the general? If winning the primary requires this level of public devotion, what happens when you're on a debate stage in a swing district in November?
That's the real tension, and it's exactly where we need to go next, because Texas just shifted from likely Republican to lean Republican, and Paxton heads into November with $7 million. His opponent has 40.
Yeah, the sycophant Olympics just ended. Now comes the actual race. So Cook Political moved Texas from likely to lean Republican the night Paxton won. That's immediate. That's not spin. Day one. They didn't wait a week to think about it.
And here's the number I keep coming back to. Tallarico has raised over $40 million. Paxton has raised $7.6 million. According to NBC News, GOP consultants are now saying party groups may have to spend up to $100 million just to hold Texas.
$100 million to hold Texas, a state Republicans have won every Senate race in since 1988.
Right, that's the cost. You don't just pay it in Texas either. Every dollar defending that seat is a dollar you're not spending in North Carolina or Georgia.
Okay, but hold on. Walk me through what a Cornyn win actually looks like in November. He loses the MAGA base, the base stays home. You might lose anyway in a wave environment.
That's a fair point, but there's a difference between a base that's unenthusiastic and a candidate who's already been impeached.
Acquitted.
Firmly by a Republican-controlled Texas Senate after his own staff accused him of bribery. Paxton has a 57% unfavorable rating in the state. That's not a vulnerability, that's a pre-existing condition.
Okay, pre-existing condition. Okay, I'll give you that.
Look, a unified MAGA caucus has value. I'm not dismissing that argument. But the Brookings analysis on intra-party tensions makes this point clearly. Primary dominance and November viability are two separate tests. Right now, the GOP is acing one and struggling with the other.
You know what nobody wants to say? Paxton knew this going in. He said it himself on election night. Quote, "Without a shadow of a doubt, I will be the Democrats' #1 target in November." He said it out loud.
And Ted Cruz went on his podcast the next morning and told Republicans, do not take this general election for granted. That's your own party's most recent winner in Texas telling you the math is tight.
So the question I keep landing on, is a pure MAGA caucus actually harder to beat in November, or did the Purge just hand Democrats a recruitment poster?
That's the question. Democrats need 4 net Senate pickups for a majority. Republicans have to hold 22 seats. Sabato's crystal ball still rates the overall battle as favoring Republicans, but Texas just moved onto the board.
And it's the most expensive media state in the country. 20 media markets. Running statewide ads costs millions per week.
So when a GOP strategist tells NBC News that resources are being diverted from other battlegrounds to cover a seat that should have been safe, that's real concern, not spin.
And the Purge was clean. Whether November is clean, that's a different conversation entirely.
And that map is exactly where we need to go next.
So the map comes down to this. Democrats need 4 net Senate pickups. Their best shots are Maine, North Carolina, Michigan, and Georgia.
Republicans are defending 22 seats and hoping nothing breaks bad all at once.
And holding all 4 of those on the Democratic side is already a tall order. Georgia's Ossoff is running in a state Trump carried. Michigan is an open seat after Peters retired. Neither of those are freebies.
Exactly. So Sabato, 270 to win, the whole forecasting world still has the Senate leaning Republican. Texas was supposed to be a safe hold. Now it's a competitive race. That's the canary, Reagan. That's the one you watch.
I'll give you that. The Senate math still favors Republicans holding, but here's where I push back on the victory lap. The House only needs 3 seat flips for Democrats to take the majority. 3. And forecasters currently rate Democrats as clear favorites there.
Right. The out-party midterm gravity is real.
So you can win the primary war, consolidate the conference, run the loyalty test perfectly, and still wake up in January with a Democratic speaker. That's the scenario nobody in Trump world wants to say out loud.
Here's the thing nobody wants to say. The Purge might hold the Senate and lose the House in the same night. And the Brookings question that's been running under this whole episode, primary dominance versus November viability, answers itself the hard way.
Which is why, next week, we need to look at whether the environment is shifting fast enough for that scenario to actually land. The generic ballot right now is not a comfort to Republicans.
No, it is not. We'll get into those numbers next week. Stay with us. All right, that's our show. And look, if this episode didn't make you sit up straight, check your pulse.
I mean, we covered a lot of ground today. The loyalty sweep, Massie, Cornyn, it all points to the same thing.
24 years, gone.
Yeah.
1 week after a Trump endorsement. Paxton wins by 28 points. That is not a close call. That is a statement.
And the statement has an asterisk. According to Brookings, Paxton's fundraising weakness and legal baggage may hand Democrats a window in Texas they haven't had in years.
Win the primary, sweat the general. That's the trade.
Which is exactly the tension we're going to keep watching all the way to November.
Bottom line, Trump owns the primary process right now. What he does with that in the fall is the whole ball game.
Well said.
Subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and tell a friend who needs to hear this. New episodes every weekday.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Stay sharp.